The vibration of change, that magical place where life shifts from struggle to ease, from stagnation to forward movement, from old ways of being to new ways of becoming. Yes, it can seem rather elusive to get there, but when you are in it, you feel it down to your very core, and it can positively affect everything in your life, from your relationships to your health and well-being, from your career path to your abundance, from the quality of your inner connection to the fullness of your self-expression. Here on the Christine Upchurch Show, we explore ways to get into that vibration of change with experts in the fields of consciousness, psychology, spirituality, health, healing, and science. Are you ready to step into your vibration of change? Welcome back. For those of you who are listening on the AM station, you would be hearing Michael Tomlinson. He is a fabulous musician, very conscious man. You can find his music at michaeltomlinson.com. All right, we have a guest now. I'm so grateful she's here. Her name is Marina Seren. She's an international speaker. She's an extraterrestrial contactee, a multidimensional channeler, and an ET artist. And she's very young, and yet she's got deep wisdom because of her connection. And today I'm really grateful to be having her join us today. I think she may be joining us from España, I believe, from Spain. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Marina Seren. Hi, Marina.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm so grateful that we figured out how to connect. I think that there was a glitch with the communication, but you know, I trust in the perfection of how things unfold. And so I'm just going to trust that the message I gave to people the first, half, the third of our show was something that somebody out there needed to hear.
Yes, I agree with it too.
Yeah. So I'm really fascinated by your story. Tell us a little bit about your awakening.
Sure. When I started my awakening, I was about 15 years old and I was in high school. And I actually experienced a really strong Kundalini awakening. I was initially interested in sciences, specifically in quantum science, quantum physics. And so that's when I started to have my first awakening, which is the mind, getting all these concepts about the dynamics of how the universe works on a metaphysical perspective. So I was really intrigued also about the origins of human life. I started to get downloads and information that I didn't know that I had, previously. And so I started to question the nature of evolution, of human evolution, to the point that I thought that it couldn't be real, that we came from just an evolutionary offspring of apes or humanoids. So I started to get the strong feeling that maybe we weren't just humans, like from, hominids, but maybe also hybrids with extraterrestrial species. Because if we will compare us to other species on the planet, our kind of like evolutionary course was so intense, was so different, that something extraordinary must have happened in the environment to trigger us to kind of like change and mutate in such a way. And other animals could have also taken that path because there are thousands of species in planet Earth. So that made me realize that, yes, indeed, we were hybridized individual, and that there were many genetics, many features of humans, such as Rh negative, that didn't make any sense as to like how our genome mutated itself to create what we know as our human race. So that's how I started to have, kind of like little pieces of information, and I started to get more and more of a bigger picture on how the universe really works and what is our true origins as humans. And so I got interested about the fact that we were this kind of hybrids, that we were not alone, and that we were some sort of like genetic experiment from the skies, from the space. And that's when I reviewed the astronaut theory that we were created by the Anunnaki. and that there were certain beings that were connected to us, that there were some beings here on earth to help, on a mission, and a spiritual mission, to help remember the rest of the world, what's going on right now and what's our true history. And that's what I got to know about the indigo children, the starseeds, the light workers, and all of that. And it was really exciting. And I had my first UFO sighting, and I started to have some sort of experience, some sort of experiences in the astral with this kind of extraterrestrial consciousness, which then I realized it was my family. So it was really, really interesting and really amazing at first.
Marina, I think that there are plenty of people out there, and they're the kind of people who listen to these sorts of shows and follow people like you, who have never felt like they belong. There's this. So I'm wondering if there is a difference between some of them who, like, if you say that we're all hybrids, as humans in a sense, but you also talk about starseeds. Is there a different path for some versus others?
Well, yes, we all have different paths for sure, but talking about groups like starseeds, light workers, we definitely have something different. We definitely have a different mission because of our genetics, and it's true that we're all hybrids, but what differentiates starseeds from other kind of humans, it's more earth connected. It's that we have a little bit more of experience on other star systems integrated in our genetics, That's why we chose specific lineages that had a little bit more of extraterrestrial DNA percentage, because we're more compatible with that physical DNA. And so when we incarnate ourselves, we're making another kind of hybridization. We are blending our metaphysical DNA that has more connections and more consciousness integrated from other star system into that physical lineage. So we are upgrading in every time, and we're grounding more of the extraterrestrial frequencies on Earth.
So when you talk about those other layers of DNA, I have heard, and then I haven't seen any proof of it, in the 3D realm, but I've heard that we've got the 3D version of DNA, but then there are energetic strands as well. So are you talking about integrating more of those energetic strands into the physical body?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's integrating that hybridization between the metaphysical soul DNA and the physical third dimensional DNA.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you had a significant awakening, and you've gotten this information, but how does a person have a good sense about whether or not they are starseeds?
Well, the first sign is that you feel excited about it, because that's actually tells you that you're connected to it, that you are part of this, because otherwise you wouldn't be excited about it. And I have talked about the starseed to many other people, and they don't have a feeling. It doesn't make them kind of like create any sort of emotional reaction inside of them. So the fact that somebody could be attracted to this idea or excited or interested might be like a sign telling them you are this.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because one of the phrases that's come out of my mouth probably 1,000 times at least over the years is, this planet is so dense, which
Yes.
to me, it's like when we experience this heaviness from the collective, from the belief systems, from the behavior, to me, that is also a sign that our true nature, where we come from, that we're really connected to, or we're more aware of, it's discordant with what we're experiencing on Earth.
Yeah, 100% agree. The Earth is now really interesting because we are able to experience so much polarity consciousness that it kind of like makes you to grow yourself, to be a master of your own, to be really empower yourself. So many people have observed this moment as a really exciting time for transformation, and many others as an opportunity to transform and their own polarity consciousness that they were exploring in other star systems, such as Orion. That was also a really devastating star system.
I'm not aware of that. So what information do you have about that?
Well, in Orion, there was a lot of tyranny that we have experiencing now, a lot of really similar dynamics that we're going on, that we're exploring here, and many similar ideas. So basically, the Anunnaki, which are the creators of the human race, were involved in many of these negative narratives in or the Orion constellation. And there were many wars in which many lineages around the galaxy were involved in this, warlike tendencies and stories and experiences. So there was a lot of suffering, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of polarity, as I was saying, like in Earth. So like what happened is that many of those souls, instead of getting recycled into that star system, as we have Orion DNA ourselves, they observe like humanity and the Earth consciousness as an opportunity for them to reincarnate because they're compatible, and then have a little bit more of a system. Because what makes Earth so attractive to those souls is that as we have been hybridized by more than just one species, like, not just the Orion people or the Anunnaki, the proto-sapiens that are called, also the hyper-sapiens, which is the Sirian, the Andromeda, and the Pleiadians, that have a lot of Christ consciousness embedded in their DNA, not some of like the fallen angel, but the Christ consciousness. That helps balance the DNA, those negative karmic aspects of their DNA. So they will, if they incarnate as humans, they will have more assistance from their side.
So you're referring to what we say in English, Christ consciousness, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting because I felt like that's what I've been interacting with for many years now. And over the last 6 to 9 months, I've found myself saying that phrase repeatedly and feeling the energetic shift. It's kind of like this tingly empowerment. So I'm wondering if there are people who are waking up to this shift, but waking up through their connection to Christ consciousness.
Yes, definitely. That's what actually is going on right now. Our DNA is carbon-based, which is not crystalline. And so in these times of transformation, the more that we awaken more of our true nature as light beings, as love beings of compassion and unity, we are shifting from a carbon-based DNA structure to a silica-based, which is more of a crystalline structure. So crystalline is basically a kind of like similar word to Christ consciousness, Christ. That's why there's many times when we hear about crystalline aura, we are also referring to the idea of Christ consciousness and Christ energies.
So what does that mean in terms of our physicality with that transformation more towards the crystalline energy?
Well, it means that since our genetic structure will be more crystalline, our vibration, our particles could be able to vibrate faster. And the more faster that you vibrate, more like that you are integrated in the moment, that you're embracing in your physical expression in the moment. So more of the light on higher aspects of yourself, that you will be grounded back to the lower aspect of yourself, which is the physical.
So in a sense, this is, I think you're basically underscoring what I've been saying to people for a long time. It's like we went through the stage where it was about connecting with that higher frequency vibration and but now we're being required to bring that into the physical body, which is a whole different experience. So is that process part of what is illuminating both the individual shadow and the collective shadow?
Yes, exactly. By integrating our shadows and doing shadow work is when we are able to shine more of the light, because the light actually needs a dark space to shine in. Just as in the universe, there is dark energy, dark matter, like being the space for the suns and the stars to shine in. That's the same process. We need to integrate that shadow so that we have more space to put our light to shine in brighter.
That makes perfect sense. So from my perspective, the tyranny that you talked about is very evident today. And I'm fascinated by many people who've been in the consciousness community who aren't seeing the same thing that others are seeing. they view the tyranny differently. They view the tyranny as, oh, individuals aren't getting with the collective program and helping the community. Whereas there's some who are saying, wait a minute, this narrative about helping the collective by taking certain actions within the physical realm that I'm not going to say so we don't get kicked off of YouTube, that is what is in the best and highest good. But there's some, there's some who are saying, wait a minute, that's actually, although they are espousing that that's good for unity, it's actually the tyranny taking over. What's your perspective on that?
Well, I perceive that we are all creating our reality, and that there are certain aspects of our governments and our society that many souls will see as different, with different values. I think that besides that relativity, we are all getting in contact with that holistic negative forms of oppression, and suppression. So I think we're all awakening also in awareness to that aspect of ourselves, in a sense, of our collective, and that we may have different ways to deal with it or interpret it, but we're all awakening to that, and we're all deciding that we're tired of that.
We're going to take a quick break and see if we can fix this connection. Welcome back. We have our guest Marina Seren back. And Marina, you say that you've been a contactee. What does that mean?
Well, it means that you're getting touched with higher aspects of yourself that are expressing themselves in us different kind of consciousness, which is all part of other star systems. Because when we have extraterrestrial consciousness, we're just not creating like interaction with other beings that are just different species. It's aspects of our own consciousness many times, because right here on Earth, many of those expressions of our oversouls are deciding to participate in our assistance to Earth, to their transformational times of Earth. So most of them are kind of like family or other expressions of ourself.
So you're saying that we've got some heavy duty help underway right now. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So can you get more specific about who and what that help is?
Well, there are many different beings from different galaxies and star systems, but the highest percentage of these beings are the ones that are part of our genetic makeup, which is the ones that I was talking about, because of their specific genetic connections. So they see this as an opportunity for them, not just for us to be helped, but for them to be of service, because when you're of service, you're also being service to self. You're also helping yourself to grow farther.
Mm-hmm. So I have heard from those who have, that regular connection with ETs, shall we call them? I know that, part of it is we think in terms of aliens, but I think there's also like light beings, consciousness, the various types, that because of the free will here on Earth, that we have to invite the help in. Is that correct? Okay, I'm going to share my perspective on it. I think that we have to be very careful what kind of help we invite in. And I'm not saying to be fear-based about the energetic help, but rather to think in terms of connecting with source, connecting with our higher self, with our higher mission, and the energies that are in alignment with that. I often think in terms of the energies, the beings, whatever the help is that are here for our best and highest good, that are here in alignment with pure love, that are here in alignment with Christ consciousness. Not to be afraid of the others, because I think that fear gets us to this place of a very contracting energy. It disconnects us from that source. And when you think about all the fear that has come through the narrative over the last year and a half, um, it makes it clear why more and more people are having a harder time connecting sometimes with that higher source. I was just sharing my perspective on asking for help.
Yes.
Um, and and I really do think that we have to be aware of the kind of help we invite in, that we want to invite the help in that's in alignment with Christ consciousness, with love, whatever you want to call it. Um, do you do you feel it's important that we invite help in at this time of transformation?
Yes, because many times these beings are there waiting for their own call to be received, to be took, because they, as much as they wish they could help us, regardless of any interference in our communication, they have to have a green light given by us for them to co-create with us more energetically active, because there's allowed non-interaction, so sometimes it will have to take us to be aware of their help, of their possibility of getting assisted, for us to say yes, come to us, we're ready, we want to co-create, so that they can be more in communion with us and yes, participate.
Mm. Do you feel that we need to be cautious about who and what we invite in?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that we have to take in. We have to develop a lot of discernment, because of course there are other beings that doesn't want the best for us and will try to take advantage of our not ability to see what's going on the other side.
Mhm. It's funny, Marina, because a few months ago, I tend to be a fairly peaceful person. It's not that I haven't expressed anger. I've had big anger in my life, that stuff that needed to be healed. But in terms of, I don't have a warrior kind of pose typically. It's like, I take bugs out in a bug jar. I don't eat things that flew, crawled, swam. It's sort of in my nature. But I found myself being called to be a warrior against some very dark energy, and I won't go into details here. Do you feel that we are in a battle right now of sorts?
I do agree that there is a spiritual battle going on, and that's why the indigo children are described as being warrior personalities, or rebellious energies, because when there is a structure that has been crystallized in a specific star system or civilization, there needs to be a shattering. There needs to be someone to create a rebellion to shatter that structure, that crystalline structure, to be able to create a new one. And that's when the crystal children come here after the indigo to crystallize again back a different structure.
Mm, that makes perfect sense. Do you feel that we are going to be moving through this shadow to light, or do you think that the tyranny is going to win?
Oh, I believe that the times of the light has come, whether if we are prepared for it or not individually. But I totally agree that it's just not in the hands of humans. It's also in the hands of the earth, because Earth's consciousness is their own
Mm.
consciousness. So I believe that she is deciding for herself too.
Ah, that gives me chills, actually. Uh, yeah. And so, I've personally experienced multiple of my own timelines, so to speak. Um, do you feel like our frequency is aligned with the frequency of Earth healing?
Yes, that's a human resonance. And there has been, over the time, there has been many groups, but many different negative oriented groups and governments that has wanted to separate us from that frequency. Instead of listening music, for example, in the tune of 432 hertz, they have kind of like insisted that we will use, made mandatory that the music will be tuning 440 hertz, which
Mhm,
is not aligned with sacred geometry and sacred numerology, with
mhm,
mathematical proportions that are actually mimicking that geometrical divine structures of the light, the structure of existence and the universe.
mhm,
So yes, over the time there has been a lot of sabotage, but those frequencies are available for us to tune in and to be able to heal our bodies, because everything is frequency and everything is vibration. So
Yeah. And I so align with you about the connection to sacred geometry. We could go down a whole rabbit hole. We're starting
yes,
to run out of time here. Before we go any further, I want to make sure people know how they can connect with you and what it is you offer.
sure. Well, they can connect to me through my webpage. That is www.marinaseren.com. And that's where I offer.
Can you spell that out?
Yes.
Can you spell out your
Sure.
name?
MARINASEREN, Marina Seren.
Yes. Okay, great.
And so there I have a webpage with many of my spiritual teachings or spiritual channel messages from my higher mind. I have a blog for, to share my experiences. I have a gallery of some of my UFO sightings, some of my UFO marks, and also some of my drawings of experiences that I had, and also an ET gallery of some of my own portraits that I created, and then I have a contact information that, there a page, and I offer intuitive readings, energetic readings, and galactic portraits, as well as conscious channel messages from my higher mind.
All that, and you're still really young. For many of us, it took us a lot longer to really wake up, and some of us are still working on it. So I find your story very fascinating, and I'm grateful you joined us here today, Marina. Thank you. And I know we had some glitches here, but I'm so grateful that you were able to share some of your insights and connect with my audience here today.
Well, I'm really glad you had me here. Besides the technical difficulties, it was a pleasure to be here to share with you, Christine.
Thank you. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you'd like to empower yourself to step further into your vibration of change, please visit my website at christineupchurch.com, where you can learn more about my insights, upcoming events, and private sessions.